right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. This is always a special night of the year. Kind of see some faces that are already in the Hall of Fame, some people that help out with the Hall of Fame, the Pirate crew, everything like that. So if you are on the committee, can you please stand up just so we can acknowledge you real quick? Thank you all so much for staying involved. Obviously, there's a long history and tradition here, and it's great to kind of see some of the faces that can tell it how it was. I know things kind of seem to get exaggerated over time, but it's great to hear the stories and stuff, and I appreciate everybody that continues to help out. If you're in the Pirate crew, can you stand up? Do we have any Pirate crew members here? We'll have one tonight. And then if you are in the Hall of Fame, can we acknowledge you real quick? You Hall of Famers? So that's great. Thank you, and thank you for everybody for coming back. Tonight is kind of a special night for me, just because, when we were discussing the Pirate Crew Club, the first thing that kind of jumped into my mind when it's about, giving back to the community and athletics is our tennis coach, Mrs. Leslie Miller. I didn't know that she was on the school board for 25 years already, so congratulations. And it's one of those things where since she's on the school board, she can't accept payments, so she's volunteering, and then she spends the money on private instructions for the kids. So it's a win-win, and the kids get a lot out of it. Obviously, it would be expensive to send everybody to play indoor tennis in the middle of the winter for off-season workouts and stuff. So, and you see it on the court too. Our girls' tennis team this past year had a great year. Our boys. Shout out to the two guys that came. It's exciting because you see them kind of grow and develop every year. Girls tennis will be returning everybody, so keep an eye out on the team next year. We're expecting big things. No pressure. But I'm going to ask Leslie to come up and accept the award, and then kind of give a little spiel about. I'll just let her go at it. So go ahead. Congratulations. Thank you.
Well, thank you. This is quite an honor. I had not expected any of this, as did my 25-year OSBA award either. I got an email this summer that said, congratulations, you've been on the board for 25 years. I'm like, what, really? I have? And so I don't keep track of things. Tennis has really been in my life since I was in the 4th grade. Yeah, that's a long time. I went through, I played at the park. I went to the high school summer sessions that the coach would have, and unfortunately, I ended up having scoliosis, so I ended up having back surgery. And at that point in time, in those years, they didn't believe in something called physical therapy, and they basically let me back out, and I had zero muscle tone at all, and could barely even run or pick up a racket. So being on the high school team was always my goal, and I just could not do that physically. So fast forward a long time, all the boys, I have 2 of my sons here with me tonight, we always had rackets. We'd go out and we'd kind of play around and that, and then all of a sudden I got this phone call one day when the youngest was in the 7th grade, and he said, guess what I signed up for? And I'm like, oh gosh, what did you sign up for now? And he goes, I signed up for the tennis team. And I'm like, you did? Really? Oh, that's great. And he said, and they need a coach. Oh, great. Okay. And so I became the middle school coach, and I coached him through there, and then he went on and played at the high school, and I was the assistant coach, and then ended up being the varsity coach. And the girls' team at that point in time, they had lost their coach, and I went to the athletic director and I said, do you mind if I put an all-call out and see if we can't get some girls to play tennis? And he goes, no, that's all right, go right ahead. So I put on an all-call, I got 7 girls. And we started it from there. And now I have this team here, which I'm very, very proud of. They have really put in the time and effort and have done great things this year, and I'm expecting great things in the following years here. We didn't have any seniors, so that was great. But I'll tell you, we have kids that come and they pick up a racket, and then I see the love for the sport. And the love for the sport is why I'm here. I love tennis. I've always loved tennis. Chris Evert was my idol when I was younger, and still is. I still think she's a wonderful person and a great player. But just having them come out, and all my players that have played, and I've got all the way down through the ranks, and they want to teach their kids now how to play tennis. So I think I've done my job as well as I could. I gave them the love for the game, and that's really what it's all about. So thank you.
Thank you and congratulations again. So next up, we're going to start the Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Please welcome Scott Frymore, who's introducing Brett Downing. Come on up.
Thank you, Brett. First of all, I'm pretty humbled and honored to be asked to do this for Brett. Brett and I go back over 30 years of friendship. Brett's one of my best friends. There's really nothing I don't know about him or he doesn't know about me. We talk on a weekly basis. Those talks usually revolve around family and kids now, which is fine. I always get the update on Chloe not shooting the ball enough. And but outside of Brett's achievements here that I'll read over in a second, first and foremost, he's much more of a better person than he is an athlete. As many of his friends are here tonight would attest to that. You can count on Brett for anything. He's an honest person, and there really isn't anything he would do for you. On top of that, he's a much better father, husband, son, nephew, grandson, you name it. Brett is definitely one of the best people there is. So I'll just jump into the write-up here on Brett. Brett Downing's athletic career at West Carrollton High School coincided with some of the most successful team accomplishments in the sports he played, soccer and basketball. He was awarded five varsity letters total, and his contributions and impact on both programs have earned him induction into the Hall of Fame of 2023. Brett is among the most decorated basketball players in school history, earning multiple All-League and All-Honors in his 3-year career. First team All-Greater Miami Valley Conference and Dayton Daily News All-Areas as a junior and senior, All-Southwest Ohio Honorable Mention as a junior, and first team as a senior. Brett was the leading scorer and second leading rebounder on Pirate basketball teams that finished 16-6 and 15-8 his junior and senior seasons. The 92 team was the first to record 2 postseason tournament victories in 20 years, defeating Miamisburg and Centerville before falling to Colonel White, which is now Thurgood Marshall, in the sectional final. The 31 wins over a 2-year span are the second most in back-to-back seasons in history, just behind the 32 wins notched by the 70-71 and 71-72 teams. 31 years after graduating, Brett still ranks in the top 10 in several individual and career record categories, including total points, 468 in a season, third all-time, total points in a career, 827, ninth, points per game in a season, 20.3, ninth place, three-point field goals made in a season, 80, and that's first place still to this day. Three-point field goal percentage, season, 40%, fourth. Three-point field goals made career, 137. That's second. Free throws made in the season, 98. That's still 7th place. Free throws made career, 174. That's 7th place. Free throw percentage in a season, 87.5. That's first. Free throw percentage career, 80.9%, 3rd place. As you can tell, Brett was a very good shooter. If he had given more assists, I might be the one up here. He might be the one inducing me. While Brett's statistical achievements in soccer are more difficult to quantify, he was a defender. His impact cannot be overlooked. He was a 2-year starter on teams that finished 24-9-5 and earned first team All-GMVC and second team All-Dayton South as a junior, and first team GMVC and All-Dayton South, and first team All-Miami Valley as a senior. Upon graduation, Brett graduated from Wright State University with a degree in finance. He and his wife, Terry, have 2 children, and they're here today, Colin and Chloe, and they reside in Springboro. Congratulations, Brett.
Yes, I'm putting them on. Thanks, Scott, for the kind words. Something Scott didn't mention was that I don't excel at public speaking, so I will be making this short and sweet. But I do have a lot of people that I would like to thank for the impact that they had on my athletic career and on all aspects of my life. I would like to thank the West Carrollton Hall of Fame committee members for their commitment and continued support to all of the West Carrollton student athletes, past and present. It is an honor to be included among current Hall of Fame members like Chris Holland, Travis Hearns, Scott Keene, Mary Beth Langenfeld. There have been many coaches over the years that have impacted my love and desire to play sports. Mike Humanansky, who was my Shark soccer team coach, Bob Staley, who was our West Carrollton Select basketball team coach, Harold Hendrickson, who was our West Carrollton traveling baseball team coach. And they were 3 of the coaches who focused more on teaching the fundamentals of the game rather than on winning. And ultimately, that led to a lot of wins on the field and the court. Thank you to my junior high coaches, Coach Farrell, my 7th grade basketball coach, for teaching me what it meant to be a part of the team and what it meant to represent my community. Coach Michaels, my 8th grade basketball coach, I want to thank him for almost cutting me from the basketball team and in turn motivating me to find my grit and drive to succeed. He called me into his office after tryouts and told me I was the last one picked for the team, and he had hoped that he had not made a mistake. I remember walking out of his office thinking, I never want to have that feeling again. Coach McCoy, my 9th grade basketball coach and JV basketball coach, he impacted my athletic career the most when it came to confidence and leadership. Having him as my 9th grade and JV basketball coaches helped pave the way for my high school career. When Coach called me into his office my 9th grade year, I had that oh no feeling again. But he sat me down and he told me he needed me to be the leader of this team. And he had all the confidence in me to become a great player and leader. But he said I had to find that confidence in myself. Thank you, Coach McCoy, for showing me showing faith in me. Thank you to my high school coaches. Coach Campbell, he was my varsity soccer coach. Although we didn't always see eye to eye, you taught me how to handle adversity in order to reach our common goal, which was winning. Coach Neil Ambergy, he was the assistant varsity basketball coach that pushed me in practice daily. He was relentless on me. If he thought I was being lazy or wasn't giving my best effort, he would let me and everybody else in the gym know it. I used to think he didn't like me. Maybe he didn't. But I think he just really cared about my success as a player and a teammate. I knew going into my senior year I needed to get bigger, stronger, and faster if I wanted to compete at a higher level. And because of Coach Schoenberger, the assistant football coach, and one of my teachers, that happened. After asking Coach if he would show me the workouts that the football team did, he would meet me 3 times a week at 8 a.m. in the summer to put me through those workouts, sacrificing his own time. It made me think at the time that maybe he was trying to recruit me for football, but that wasn't the case. But sacrificing his own time is something that I have never forgotten. The most influential coach in my athletic career was Coach Gerhard. We spent hours in his office together before and after practice. He would tell me stories about his playing days. We would talk strategy and break down game film. In the middle of a conversation, he would grab a VCR tape, and I know you kids are all looking at each other, asking what a VCR tape is. But he would grab a VCR tape of a game, and he would fast forward to a spot, and he would say, watch how James McGuire would come off this double screen, and watch his footwork, how he caught the pass, and how he got the shot off. I wasn't 6'6", I didn't have a 40-inch vertical leap, so I knew that I had to learn how to outsmart and outwork my opponent. I will forever be grateful and thankful to Coach for teaching me the game of basketball. I want to thank my parents. As a kid, I couldn't wait until my dad got home from work so we could go in the backyard and throw the football, pass the baseball, kick the soccer ball until it was time for dinner, only to come back out after dinner. We would head to the park, and I would shoot the basketball for hours with him as my rebounder. After each trip to the park, my dad was always able to tell me how many shots I took and how many I made. Thank you to my mom for introducing me to sports when I was younger and coaching some of my rec teams and taking me to all the practices and all the games every night and letting me play on 3 traveling teams because I would have played on more if there were more seasons. Thank you for spending all of your time as my taxi driver. But most importantly, thank you for your support. Finally, I'd like to thank my teammates. As I was looking at my bio, what hit me the most and what I was most proud of was I was a part of some of the most successful teams in West Carrollton high school history. I know I'm being honored tonight as an individual, but without Dusk Marshall going to White Villa to kick the soccer ball with me, or the times that Chad Crouch and I snuck into the high school gym over the summer to work on our game for hours, along with guys like Danny Price and Steve Shum and Scott Hanayak, who were upperclassmen and included me when I was a freshman being called up to the varsity soccer team in the middle of the season. And I was scared to death. And I would be remiss to not include Jay Hendricks and Scott Frymoyer and Jim Gutman and Ryan Casey for spending hours under the lights playing pickup basketball until the lights shut off at midnight at Widener Park. So without the support of my teammates and my coaches, my family, and my friends along the way, I would not be standing up here this evening and receiving this tremendous honor. Thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations again. You know, this is kind of the part that makes it special for me and kind of why I got into what I'm doing as an athletic director, is hearing stories like that and the impact that it makes on the young kids out there. Next up, we have Lee McNeil's children accepting the award on behalf of Lee. Come on up.
you very much.
Good evening. My name is Amanda McNeil, and I'm the eldest of my father's children. Before I get started, I wanted to congratulate both Leslie and Brett. I'm also receiving awards as well. To be honest, this is one of the hardest speeches that I've ever prepared for in my life. The accomplishments that we're celebrating today are not mine for which to take credit. I should not be the one standing here to accept this award today. And it hurts my heart that my father's not here to cherish this moment that he so longed for and readily earned. In his absence, I'll do my best to convey the appreciation that he would have conveyed to everyone for receiving this award. Dad was a talker. And if you knew him, you know that that's probably an understatement at this point. However, he wasn't overly braggadocious about what his accomplishments were in high school. It wasn't until he passed and we unearthed boxes and boxes of his newspaper articles from the 70s that we uncovered the fact that he was really good at athletics. Like, seeing all these newspapers, it opened our eyes to what he did, what he accomplished. And as one of his dearest friends told me, he said, "Your dad is a hell of an athlete." Knowing what I know now, it makes me wonder what that teenager's 45 years ago, 1978, 45 years ago, what he would have thought, if he could have even imagined, if his records, explicitly his pole vaulting records, I believe what we have recorded is he holds 3 of the 10 records in West Carrollton right now, 45 years ago. So the better part of half of a century, he still holds on to these records. I wonder if he could imagine that they would still be standing today. And I can promise you that my father would be elated at the longevity of his records. As a matter of fact, and this might sound strange, he would actually have been proud that his accomplishments outlived him, that his legacy outlived him. If he was standing before you today, he would have regaled you with stories of high school past, laced with his own unique humor. And what that means is there would have been a lot of dad jokes accompanied into stories, from back in the day. And it would be unfair of me to try to retell some of his stories. That would be plagiarism. Those weren't my memories. Those weren't my stories to give to you. But what I can say is my father, whenever he did give stories, tried to make sure that you felt the experience. So what I can tell you is that one of the stories that I hold near and dear to my heart is he went to the Ohio State Track Championship in the 70s, and he placed second in pole vaulting. And that is held at the Shoe in Columbus. So a couple years ago, we ended up going to a Brown scrimmage at the Shoe, he and I, sitting in the stands, watching the Browns play, and he started telling me the story about, Amanda, I wish you could have experienced what it was like being down on the field. I wish you could have experienced standing there on the 50-yard line, looking up in the shoes, something that not everyone is able to fathom, to think about, you staying in the middle of this field, that you could potentially be surrounded by upwards of 100,000 people at one point in time, and having that experience, having lived that. And the thing that struck me about that is he never once during this story said, and this is where I got second place. This is where I hit, I think it was 14 feet. That was not what he was about. That's not what he was trying to convey. What he wanted to convey was how exciting it was to have lived that experience, to have that. And he wanted to ensure that that was something that Maybe I may not be able to live that myself, but he wanted to hand that off to me. He kind of introduced me to his teenage self. You know, something that kids don't often think about? Your parents, they were cool at one point in time. They were really cool before kids came along. And that's something that you don't realize until you get a little bit older and you start going through your parents' stuff. And you go, damn, y'all, like, you used to be a teenager. Like, we could have been friends at some point. But he wanted to convey that experience. And he always wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of the fact that you could have that experience if you put your heart into it. So he was a coach for Miamisburg, I know Miamisburg, for the better part of a decade while myself and my two younger brothers were in track. And he always tried to convey, to your point earlier, the love of the sport and the knowledge of the sport. And that was something that he wanted to make sure that he could instill into his players. No, you may not get to state championships. No, you may not get second place. But do you love what you're doing? So that was something that he wanted to make sure that everyone could experience through him, his love and his knowledge of the sport. So he would have assured that you're aware of how thankful he was to be given this honor. And he would have been humbled to be granted the opportunity to join the Hall of Fame recipients that came before him. So on behalf of myself and my family, we would like to express our sincerest appreciation to the West Carrollton Hall of Fame for this honor. Thank you very much.
Okay, can we just give it up one more time for everybody that's sitting up here tonight? That's awesome. Okay, so I've been asked to share, we will be posting the video of this ceremony on the athletics website. We will make sure that the families are sent the link to everything. It is the end of the third quarter right now in the JV game, so we have about probably 30, 40 minutes before the varsity game will get started. So just kind of how it works is we will, at halftime of the varsity game, invite everybody out to be recognized at halftime. If you want to bring the families out, that's great. I think that's, this is a family event because after all, athletics is more than just about the people sitting up here. It takes a whole team, a whole family team to build successful student athletes. So with that being said, we will end this portion. Please feel free to hang out in the lobby area, grab some drinks and snacks and stuff, take some pictures and catch up, and I will keep everybody in the loop with the ceremony for halftime. Thank you for coming.